Yours.
On like the homepage of the webpage, you just scroll down. And everything should be there and up to date. Are we good with this? Ed?
Yes, you're all set.
Okay, so every one of the members that will be here is here tonight. We'll start our meeting now. Nancy, welcome. Thank you. I'm Kathy Bertucci, Pam O'Malley, Paulie Drexler, right?
Yep.
Okay. John Harrington and Adam Scalise. Okay, so we'll just get into it. We have a few things to discuss tonight. Like, as I mentioned to you, we usually don't have a lot of people in the audience. And Phil is the chair of the ECC, and he's away this evening, so he's joining us by Zoom. We do have a quorum in the room, so we're good for any votes or anything that we have to do tonight. Pam is going to be taking the meetings, the meeting minutes.
You don't have one of those forms, do you?
I don't.
It's okay if you don't, I'll just follow.
Use this.
I don't have it. Oh, I'm all right.
I actually printed the second one at home. Because my printer was pretending it was asleep. And then it woke up and it wasn't else.
So we weren't able to hold our May meeting because we didn't have a quorum. So the first thing that we have to do tonight is to approve the minutes from the April meeting. If everybody's had a chance to take a look at those.
Yeah. No corrections.
Okay, we're good with those?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll send those on tomorrow. And just a reminder, if we're still, I don't know if we're gonna continue with this, but if we're still trading off doing the minutes, we should get the draft minutes to Veronica within 10 days of the meeting to be at least posted. So that's the timeline. She's pretty good about it, but I think that's the agreement. So I'll get these off tomorrow. And I think we'll be up to date there. Let's see. So we'll move into our updates. Phil, do you have anything that you'd like to discuss?
No, I don't, Kathy. Thanks. Everything that's on the agenda is kind of really all that I have as well. So that nothing new.
The only thing that I'd like to talk about is the formation of a committee. Renee had requested that the ECC consider developing a subcommittee to look at the town of Pompey and to try to come up with some potential locations that would be less objectionable for citing the solar project. She looked, she specifically, I think I have something here. What does she say? Suitable locations for tier 3 solar in Pompey. I would define suitable to mean avoiding prime soils, prime forest, a minimal to no impact on view shed, reasonable distance from neighbors and road. I'm sure there are some other factors. She's asking that we don't consider three-phase connectivity in this list because the feeling is that the state should be subsidizing installation, just improve the infrastructure so that we can open up some of these, And so let's see what sites are out there. She doesn't want this to be, a big all-encompassing to do, but just to put our heads together and take a look at some possible locations. Now, I had sent out a feeler about a month ago, and Stan, Adam, Paulie, Phil, and myself had expressed interest in participating on that committee. Adam, did you also?
I did, but I said that the summer
The
season.
summer was bad,
I could
right.
get into it more like fall, winter.
Stan had the same problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what we were thinking, Phil and I were talking about this a little bit, and perhaps we have some information and some basic data that I'd like to pull together, and because the summer is a tough time. And because this is, it's a good exercise, but in reality, we're not looking at connectivity. So, we've got some time. It isn't urgent that we jump on this. So maybe, over the next couple of months, I might pull together some information and some data, and maybe we could get up and running
Mhm.
in September or so.
Sure.
Does that sound agreeable?
That's better than.
September runs into my crazy.
I know.
You know, like, no, but you know, I'm only one, so I'll, busy people find time.
Right. Same with me. So I'm no, it's okay if this is moving forward and I check in, during the next couple of months and then always more of a check-in through September and fall. Like I'll speak for myself when I say I don't have to be a central pillar of that.
Okay.
That's,
Well, I think there's enough of us that do what we say we're gonna do, and the rest of us can check in and see what they did when we're not looking, because there's gonna be, like you said, there's times you can't, there's times I can't.
Yeah.
But I have to trust that everybody else is pulling my slack.
Yeah, so, I think, why don't we do that then? Why don't we, start pulling together some
Mhm.
information? I've got some folks I want to talk to and get some answers to some different questions. I met with Renee and Tim, I believe, the new codes officer.
yeah,
And we looked at GIS capacity through the town, and they have access to the county GIS mapper. So they can look at the data, but they can't really do any analysis or interpretation.
Mhm.
So I'm going to put out some feelers unless there's anybody here who might be able to provide some GIS support.
I will ask our GIS department at ESF.
Yeah, there's a couple of folks I'd like to talk to too, and we'll see if we could come up with somebody, and that would at least make it a little bit more, I don't know, maybe a little bit more. I don't want to say defensible, but
Right. Do-
realistic.
And I don't want to overtake this meeting with
Mhm.
those topics, but do we want to go as far as one of the GIS professors potentially make one of their weekly assignments for the students? To map the top
That's
copy.
something that maybe
That
we
was
can
great.
A set
think
of
about.
criteria. It would be. the
Free
way-
help.
Free help, but the GIS class is set up in weekly blocks, so it would be a quick turnaround if they agreed to it. It's not like it would be going on for a whole semester or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
Great problem for them to.
It is, it's a very practical,
Mhm.
real life application. We could use that background information. I don't have to learn everything.
It's true.
It can be given information.
Right.
Yeah.
The only thing that I don't know if it's a distinction on how this information ends up getting presented or made, presented to the public. I know that there's usually, I've heard a lot of confusion when a solar project comes before the town. That there are other residents. Community sometimes feels like the town is either sponsoring or supporting these projects when it's happening on private property that a private individual is pursuing. And they're coming in for the permits and approval, but I just want that distinction to say that this is not the town trying to.
No, it's just, here's the data, here's the facts, here's what's going on, here are the options that we could use.
Well, it just gives us really good background information when a project does appear.
We're not starting at.
Because there's gonna be some applications that we'll just take one look at it and say, no.
Yeah, I just want to make for the community to understand the context, because we're going to be looking at conditions on private parcels.
Yes.
Like this isn't public property. We're saying this is a good spot or this is a bad spot. So I think that sometimes gets muddied up in communications with everyone.
Yeah, we may want to, I want to just jump in just a sec. We may want to keep this somewhat high level in the sense that granted, if somebody's got 1,000 acres and that looks like prime part to put a solar farm, that's one thing, but we'll probably want to keep it high level enough that, we look at like Kathy said, maybe, eliminate soil types, eliminate prime farmland, eliminate hardwoods or something like that, and kind of see what's almost left, and maybe not drill down too close to property owners and stuff like that. More general on the geographical side of it versus the view sheds, all that kind of stuff. So that we kind of keep it out of the the comment period. I don't want it on my land or I don't want it next to my house, that type of thing. You know what I mean? Maybe keep it a little. Maybe we'll try to keep it a little bit higher level.
Yeah, I agree with that, Phil.
Yeah. And Soil and Water has some excellent maps as to what's good and what's not.
Yep.
And it's not boundary driven. You can look at them and just. Yeah, I'm always astonished how they know where every well. Yeah, it's right there. They know that.
Okay, so then I'll start, putting out some feelers at them, if you could talk to your buddies, and then we'll start moving this along slowly, and then, towards the end of the summer, we'll, push it along a little bit more. A little bit more serious with it. And we'll just, in the meantime, if anything comes up, any interesting information that would like to be circulated, we can do that by email, and just
Yeah.
people will know where it is developed. I think that's really the only update that I have. One quick thing that, on the heels of last May's meeting, when, it came to light that this really is a very busy time for a lot of folks in the room. So, we had talked, and I thought we had agreed to reduce meetings by one during the summer, but I can't find it in any of the notes from any of the meetings that I've been at. But now we've got a quorum here tonight. We've got plenty of folks, but we had Phil and I had briefly, kicked around. Does it make sense, maybe July or August to not hold a meeting unless there's some business passed to us from the town? Just giving everybody's schedules and their, what's on their plate.
I'm open to that. Yeah, if there's not anything.
Something else pending that we have to jump on, but I think that, taking, what do you think?
Yeah,
July or
I'm happy with July being gone.
Yeah, I don't have a preference for which one, but yeah, there's no sense in coming down here. If we can organize over email that there's not anything pressing that we have to.
With the idea that circumstances change. Right.
Something
Right.
could come up and
So why don't we do that then? We'll, for the sake of looking ahead to July.
July 6th is tied until July 4th, and on that too, so.
Exactly.
It is, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I guess
It's gonna
that's
be
a
tough.
very busy weekend.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, yes.
We'll drop the meeting unless the town comes back and says that they have something and it's time sensitive, and we need to meet, then we will, but otherwise.
sure.
Put up the bat sign and we'll be here.
Okay, so continuing business, we'll just do some quick updates. Martha is not here for the Earth Day update, but a lot of good feedback about Earth Day. It seems like it was so long ago because it was so windy and cold.
Right.
So I have a little feedback.
Okay,
This is the bill for the trees.
all right, that's all.
I ended up paying the whole thing.
Yep.
I'm not sure how we wanted to apportion that. I didn't want Ben to wait.
Right.
It wasn't fair. So
What's the total?
$490,
Okay.
So
got a break on shipping.
that's great.
Julie leaving brought them. She was on her way out anyway, so she just threw them on.
Now, do you remember when we were going into this, there were a lot of questions about how it was going to get broken up and who was going to do.
That's right, and I couldn't remember.
All that's got.
I'm
it's never
completely
got
in the
addressed.
dark.
Right. So my suggestion, and I think Phil agreed with this, is that you submit your
Paid receipt?
to Renee. I had
Renee.
contacted her and I asked her to reach out to you.
Yeah.
Because I
Renee's
didn't know
busy
what
too.
documentation you would need.
Mhm.
But I would say whatever you have.
I've been meaning to do that because I've also been meaning to get my dog free license, but when now that the rabies shots are done, but I clearly have not made it up to the town hall.
I don't know if the town is going to be willing or able to pick up the full cost.
I don't think, I'm willing to pick up part of it. I just didn't like all of it.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's-
Whatever we need.
yeah, let's put it to the town first. and see what we come up with.
Historically, we've always supported it out of our own
Yes.
pockets, but
Yes.
if it can be formalized, that would be ideal.
I'd just rather it were lots of pockets.
Yes, yes.
Either way, you will not get stuck with
I
that.
didn't think I would be. That's why, otherwise I'd be pounding down the door a lot. But I did want to preserve our relationship with Ben because he was really very,
Yeah.
good about getting that.
And it's not only us, but the town obviously appreciates you exercising that
Oh,
connection.
no, no,
Yeah.
it's all
Yes,
New
yes.
York. I like keeping it in state and, he's and the Christmas tree business is so funny. Cause he said, well, you know, Julie's coming to pick up hers. I said, "Oh, she got room for hers?"
No.
Well, this is what we got, and we do this everywhere.
Yeah.
We go to Pennsylvania and we pick up a whole bunch of trees that are headed to New York and most of them are ours. And, you know, and I jokingly call it the bucket brigade distribution system, which is what it pretty much is. So I wasn't worried, but Julie's great, so.
Yeah, I think. So there'll be an election, right, this year?
Yes.
And I, you know. I don't know, you know, what the sense will be at the town going forward. I know that Martha had identified some potential costs, you know, maybe some signs
Yeah.
or a banner. You know, Renee had indicated too, wouldn't be a bad idea to have some traffic, you know, barriers out there. And so, you know, over the next few months, going into the winter, and I think especially when we have the new town board in place, maybe we could get all of these answers finalized and figured out in advance so that we don't find ourselves in the position we are now, like.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
Right, right.
But,
It was a really good day.
it was, you know.
I counted, I sat and I was in one of the tables in here. I counted 170 people came
Wow.
through this room.
Truthfully,
So,
I think moving it in was an asset.
Yeah,
People spent more time
yeah,
talking. They weren't just, it wasn't grab and go.
right.
And I think that was an inadvertent plus.
it really was.
So think about that for next year.
And everybody seemed to have that same sort of response, because, you know.
I liked having the food
more
truck there,
contained.
once we knew that the food truck was a good idea.
Yeah.
You know,
And if we knew we were going to be inside from the beginning, we probably could have set it up a little bit differently, obviously, as far as.
sandwich board signs inside, you know.
Putting the food truck right near the sidewalk so everyone passed it as they came in, you know, all
Yeah.
those little things that make
Yeah.
things run smoothly.
Yeah, the inside was definitely, it was a plus. And not being in the highway garage was a plus. I mean, cars and the trucks, I mean, that was- they were.
They were quite thoroughly
Two dump
inundated.
of electronics, yeah. So, no, there was turnout for sure.
How many people just they came through?
100, I counted 170 through here, but I know
Isn't that phenomenal?
not everyone who went through
Right.
the highway barn also came in here, so whatever the.
Even if we just had sandwich boards out that said more information inside,
Right.
you know, and that kind of thing.
And that's one of the things that,
I'd only,
you know, I think we probably should try to figure out, you know, from what I understand, there were some traffic issues pulling in where there were cars backed up out on the road and.
maybe we need somebody coordinating traffic.
Yeah, so we'll need to take a look at that, especially if, you know, we're gonna try to, you know, promote this and make it a little bit bigger every year. We'll probably need to figure that out. One of the things let's see if I can find it here. We need an annual baby animal or two. Maybe now, petting zoos.
That was accidental.
It was a hit.
It was. I had to give her a bottle in the middle of the day. I wasn't going home, so she was coming with. I embarrassingly have done that way too many times.
What you gotta do?
The feet was a hit.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
Okay, so you'll submit your expenses to the town
Yeah, I only get this.
and then we'll figure out where we have to go
I'll
from there.
pop in. Hopefully this week. This week looks like it's gonna be a new version of Hell Week, but.
We haven't finished this one yet.
This one is easy. This one is just, hey, it's okay. And now I want it to rain like God never saw for a while.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get that. Ferris out of mud
Yeah,
first.
you got something, yeah.
So,
Have mud.
yeah, I got some sinkholes and all kinds of stuff up there, but, the contest, the seasonal contest, so.
Yes.
And I don't mean to feel like I'm rushing, but we do have to get the comments in, so I just wanna, hit some of this stuff. Phil had put together a draft for the pollinator.
Yes,
uh, The draft flyer for what we were going to, I guess we thought we were going to do in June.
Well, I think we were thinking about like talking about it in May, but we didn't have the May meeting, so. And I think the idea was, again, if we did this, I mean, we may or may not do it. I mean, it's up to everybody whether we want to do another contest or not, but I think we talked about at the April meeting is doing something, you know, because the snowman contest worked really well and it
I
had a lot
love
of
that.
family participation. So we were thinking something, you know, for this one, that families could all do again, you know, more of a family thing than an individual thing or whatever. And they could either plant like a flower garden or build a bat house, build a bird house, even write a story, draw a picture or something. And then the same thing as before, show what they did on Facebook and then people vote on it and decide whose is the most creative, the prettiest, the nicest, the best, or whatever the criteria that they
most
want to
unusual, whatever. I like it.
Yeah, what's that?
I like this idea, but I don't see why we couldn't do this for June rather than, maybe not this June. I don't, can we pull it off that fast?
Well, today's June.
I know. No,
It's just the end of July.
Schools, but yeah, we
Yeah.
can. July.
because,
Next 6 weeks or whatever. 7 weeks.
It was publicized on Facebook largely, right? I mean, that was, you know, when it was posted around town and
Yeah, some
in the
flyers,
schools,
I think.
Facebook.
Now
was
that I
the-
think, you know, we've done one contest already, so I think, not that people expect it, but it's not new
Awareness
to
is
them
there.
anymore. And I think didn't we put out something by the trees saying, wait for the next contest? Wasn't there a flyer? Did Martha have a flyer by the tree saying something about look forward to the next contest?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
with the
did.
seeds, I think the seeds that you had, Adam, right?
Yeah, there was one by the box of seeds, flower
Yeah.
seeds, people to take.
So I think there's still time. I mean, it's only June 1st. People can still plant or they can just use what they have, whatever, you know, but somehow say this is how they attract pollinators and the information on the flyer. I think, I don't think it's too late. And if we wanted, we can even make it the first week of August. And, you know, picking the end of July was kind of a random date. But it probably.
The awareness
still
piece is
time.
fantastic. I think that's a really good idea. So
Okay.
So
we need to take the lead on that.
I know I took the lead on the snowman one, but I'm gonna have to gracefully bow out of this one, because I'm gonna say, I won't be able to keep up with it.
Yeah, we know you're crazy time right now.
Well, what do we have to do? We just really have to give it to Veronica to post on Facebook, right?
Yeah, so a flyer has to go to Veronica, that just puts parameters on the whole thing. So beginning and start date, or beginning and end dates. Same language can be used off the snowman one as far as submit your photo with your name and your mailing address, and that all those logistics will be the same. And then just sort of what the, I guess, goal is for what the photos are being taken of, which I know it's a little bit open-ended, but maybe list some of the ideas, just so people know what they're trying to achieve to take a photo of to submit. So I guess set the dates. We can repeat the snowman submission language, and then just some context or framing about what topics they're photographing.
Right, which I think is what we put on the flyer now.
Suggestions.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty close to.
I thought the flyer was pretty much done.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing I didn't do on the flyer was add any like pretty colors or something, because I didn't have that capability. But I mean, we don't really need to do that either. We could just,
Yeah, we do.
I just don't have the software to
Be
make the,
bees on there or something.
well, I think didn't I have some bees on there, some flowers?
Yeah, there are some.
Gotta have bees, but I didn't have something to make the background a color. I was
Oh,
just doing
really?
it on my iPad.
That'd be excellent.
I'm a designer. I can help you with the flyer if you like.
Well, Phil, do you need some help with the flyer?
I mean, I think it's kind of done, except unless you want to make it look prettier.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that'd be great. And then we could give it to Veronica to post, right?
Yeah, so,
Would you wanna? No, I was just to say, send that file to, tell me your name, Nancy.
Nancy Furdock. I'm a graphic designer and web designer, but I can pretty it up for you. You just give me the content and I'll make it look nice for you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So who's gonna send it to Nancy? Am I or one of you guys? gonna
yeah,
send it?
because you have it.
Yeah. So Nancy,
Pompeyfirst@gmail.com.
wait, I'm sorry, what was that again?
Pompeyfirst, FIRST @gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So if you could send that to Nancy,
Yeah.
and then if you could send it back,
24 hours. or
that would be
something.
great.
And then
And then Phil, maybe
then
then
we
you can
send it
send
to
it late, and then
Veronica.
we'll get it right out to Veronica, right?
Yes, right.
Okay. And you have July 31st. I don't know why I was thinking June. So,
Yeah, I
Is
think
this
that should be
something that
enough
will be, is this something that will be printed also, or
it
just?
will be printed. Okay, we'll try to. post it
Minimally
in some
printed,
places,
yeah.
not too many, but yeah.
Okay.
Primarily on Facebook and.
Yeah.
And what did we do with the snowman? We ended up printing that, it was like 11 by 17, was it?
Yeah,
There was a lot of information on that, I think.
yeah, it started, I mean, there's a lot on here too.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the
11 by
words.
17.
Probably,
Probably would be best for posting,
Okay.
yep.
that's what Renee, we did a 8.5 by 11 the first time around, and she said, she requested to be blown up to 11 by 17.
Yeah, there's a lot of words.
Yeah, right,
And words need white space so people actually read them.
yes, yeah.
That's great. I'm just assuming web pages.
No progress on the page.
I put on the
I
environment.
mean, I will comment and say that it has been continually updated, so stuff we are sending to Veronica, if she's listening or does watch, thank you. So there aren't a lot of new sections on our page, but it's current, which is a feat in and of itself, so.
Bad.
Right, it's staying updated.
Really, there's been nothing on the environmental documents. I guess what fits into that will be the solar piece that, that will be a lot of the data that we'll get from that and the information will sort of fill in and update some of the environmental documents we have. Stan's not here and Martha is also out. So unless there's anything else on any of these project updates, we should just get our comments started talking about our Frank Long Road Solar. Yep. So Renee did give us another 30 days to submit our comments because we didn't hold our meeting last month. So we're right down in terms of what's required, timeline to get those comments pulled together and submitted to the town. There was a meeting, I think it was on May 9th. And they reviewed a conceptual, they being the town board. Or the town board, they reviewed the conceptual stormwater plan. There were some more detention ponds, there were some diversions, they put it through in a couple of level spreaders. But again, it was just conceptual, so they're gonna work on, they being, who's it? Seaboard. Seaboard is going to develop the full SWIP. John Dunkel is the town engineer. He said if they can demonstrate to him that their stormwater management will reduce the flow by 10%, he'll approve it. But there's very little that they're going to do is going to impact Frank Long Road itself in terms of runoff. The runoff is going to primarily hit down on 92.
Right.
And that's where the issue is going to be. And I watched it by Zoom, so I'm not really sure. They were discussing how they were going to reroute some of the water to the south, I believe, and then it was going to flow. I don't know. It's tough on those Zoom meetings. You can't see.
Yeah,
But there's a lot of work that's still being done. And Seaboard is also going to meet directly with any currently impacted residents or anybody who has concerns about this project, especially related to the drainage and the construction. And they're going to try to address those concerns. And that was over the next month. I believe it was another 30 days. So there's still more information that's coming into the town. We don't have the final stormwater plan, so we don't know what that entails.
Until we get that.
And we comment on.
Then we comment on that.
Right.
Yeah, we really can't.
Feel me right out of that trap.
You know, that's.
Can't comment on something that you don't
You
have.
don't have, right.
Right.
I mean, there were the comments, we've been talking about this a little. We talked about the fact that the buffers and the screening looked a little bit weak. And we
Yes.
sort of had, consensus on that.
And the note says that it would become effective at year 15, I think.
Seriously?
Yeah. So
Seems
the,
kind of a long
the
ways out.
images they shared said this is 15 years after planting, so like tree maturity. So, yeah, the timeframe's
Meanwhile,
extended.
1 through 10, it looks like crap.
Yeah.
To put it bluntly.
There were there were some short falls in the decommissioning plan in terms of, reforestation, reseeding. There were no details there.
They said the one phrase was, returned to previous conditions. My question was, you're gonna return decades old trees, but yeah, 'cause that's what you're taking down to begin with. So that phrase is a bit wishy-washy or undefinable. Return to previous state when they're taking down a wooden.
They mentioned any vegetation control plans?
While it's in service.
Yeah.
I didn't see any.
Hmm.
Might have missed it, but I didn't notice any.
Just wondering what they're-
The EAF was all based on their original plan where they weren't going to do any retention or detention. They weren't going to do any impoundments. So, does that, I don't know, does that have to be redone with the new?
If the engineer is making his approval threshold a certain amount of runoff, then yeah, it would have to be reapproved because they're changing what's coming potentially off the site and what they're keeping on the site. And that's the whole basis of those reports. So I would assume they'd have to be resubmitted, which is a long timeline.
Again, we can't comment on something that isn't here.
Right.
Yeah.
See, so.
The one thing I did want to kind of highlight, I guess, is the concept of runoff being produced from a solar farm. And I want to make the distinction that the solar panels themselves do not increase runoff.
It just changes.
It's the fact of what the site is being, what it previously was and what it's being changed to. So if this was already completely a farm field with, a hay field, and they put solar panels on it, it wouldn't change the site's runoff.
No,
It's the fact that it's a forested area that's going to be being cleared is what's changing the runoff. I know runoff is a big concern from a lot of residents.
well, it should be because forest,
They hold so much more water.
yeah, well, but sod will not generate as much runoff as duff from, once you take those trees out.
Oh, right.
There's no
No
undergrowth,
vegetation.
no vegetation to hold it.
Right,
And that's why I was wondering what their vegetation plan was.
right. But-
Because it's vastly different. Like the previous one that we went to is going into a field.
Mhm.
This one is going into woods.
So something has to be
Something's gonna-
introduced.
Yeah, something's gonna be radically different here. And so I was wondering what their vegetation plan was. Both for control and for establishing it before you put it in. But down in Florida, everything's on flat land, but everything is also planted to a grass or something to
Yeah.
try to hold.
The only place that I saw in the report about introduced vegetation was covering stockpiled soil during construction. Spraying it with grass seeds so that it would be stabilized while it was in a stockpiled form. But I didn't see anything about, once the site was finished graded, what the vegetation
Yeah.
plan. would be.
Mhm.
Again, all the erosion control stuff was talked about during construction. I didn't see much for what the,
Post construction.
yeah, what the final condition was
Once
gonna
it gets
be.
pulled up and there's still other issues with, yeah,
Right.
vegetation. That's a good,
Yeah.
get up and going, yeah.
What's gonna hold that dirt there?
You know,
Something's gotta hold it there.
The other, and the reason I'm just running through these, it sounds like we are of the same mind that until we get that full SWIP and we know exactly what the plan, we can't. But if we have some thoughts that we've been kicking around, you know, I could start just getting these in order in a draft and, you know, we'll
Prepared for.
there were, I don't remember if it was through this group or if it was on a town meeting. There was a concern that was raised about well contamination. It was specifically about droplets of lubricants that would wash off of the
Panels?
Yeah.
the rotating access
Yes.
panels, which in my
But
opinion,
how is it gonna wash? It's
That's-
underneath.
well, it's like potential leaking of the. In my opinion, I don't feel it's any different than a tractor running over a field and any lubricants potentially leaking out of farm implements.
Enough cars that go through and even road, but also, it's all same. Yeah.
But in my mind, that's in that same category of potential risk.
that was not from this group. That must have been, I picked that up in a meeting.
See, that's
That's interesting.
There were issues raised about the view sheds, but again, they related to, a lot were related to the buffer.
Yes.
And I don't know. I know we had requested that the town do a site visit and the town tried to set up a site visit. I think the weather was bad and then the nature of the land, the owners weren't too. And again, I might be a little bit off, but there was some concern about bringing groups of people out there. In any case, there was no site plan, so it's hard to really, unless you get out there.
Yeah.
You know, think about the.
They don't seem to be as forthcoming with that kind of thing.
Well, I mean, they've got their plans and they've got their projections and. But I haven't seen any significant view shed studies. Have you, Adam?
There was one where they took 4 images, kind of a north, south, east, and west, looking in on the site. They said from eye level, access from public property, so basically roadsides. They made note that they didn't access any private properties to take the photos. And that's where they made their before and after kind of photoshopped images of this is what it looks like now, this is what it will look like in 15 years with the, you know, recommended buffer. So there are 4 images that they did produce that address view shed. And they have data on them of like, well, this part of the site slopes off, so this isn't seen from these angles. So there is a view shed study, and people can decide if it's sufficient or not, but there is one with 4 example images from different viewpoints.
Yeah, so maybe, you know, before we finalize our comments, we could take a closer look at that and see if that really is something that we want to include in there.
At the last meeting, Kathy, I think Renee left us a paper copy of all the documents.
Yeah, I have them.
You have, okay, good. I want to make sure somebody had them. Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah, no,
No, they were up in the loft and I couldn't get up there today. I got a bad hip.
No, I just wanted to make sure that somebody had them. Yeah, that's
Yeah, I have them, Phil.
great. Yep.
Been collecting dust, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's see, during construction, yeah, so the timing of the construction with the bats. And when this is going to go. You can't cut a tree. You could only cut trees between, what is it, November and April?
I don't know.
but
Is it, I don't know if it's the brown nose bat or whatever bat it is.
Oh, the bat.
Yeah,
Bat.
comes down the quarry, so they. You know, you're really limited and this is a large stand of trees. There were some questions or concerns about. Possibly one of the largest continuous tracks. I don't know if that's true. Of
Even
forest cover in the town.
if it is, they're not breaking it up. they're taking a chunk out of it, but they're not
They're
disconnecting.
not disconnected.
Yeah.
Yep,
So,
yeah, but the timing, I guess that was an issue that.
What's the acreage on this?
60-acre site, 58-acre site, and the project is 30 of those acres.
It's 30?
Yeah,
They're gonna clear cut 30 acres?
I think it ended up being like 27.
Yeah.
It's not all cutting, but vast majority is the cut.
It says,
Yeah.
And that's about everything that I could pull out of my notes that we've discussed as potential issues and without any further information.
and these are hardwoods.
Some of it, I don't know the percentage, hardwoods and like a shrub mix. So. But I don't remember the percentages of one or the other.
It seemed, and maybe I'm misremembering this, but it seemed like they were downplaying the health of this particular stand, that there was a lot of scrub in it. And
And I've driven by it. I wouldn't call it an impressively high quality forested area. There are large trees, but they're not of any
They crap trees.
significant value.
Yeah. Trees we don't like.
Right.
Sounds like it might have been logged at one point, and then this is what we're at.
Probably, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, one point being could have been 40 years ago, but this is what
Yeah,
returned, and it wasn't a managed woods.
yes.
Okay,
There's a lot of buckthorn in that area.
ew,
So, yeah. it's-
God, I hate that stuff.
I don't know, anybody else that, I mean, just on what we know so far, are there any other comments that I missed that we've talked about, or any other issues that?
Sort of in the vein of some of the other topics, I remember someone saying, I don't remember the source, they're concerned about the physical traffic wear and tear on Frank Long Road itself. And Purcell over at the Highway Department reassured them that that road was redone in the mid-80s or something, and it would handle the traffic fine. I think that was a post-Earth Day conversation I was a part of, but yeah, that was one of the things I heard.
Interesting question, though. That's just during construction,
Yes,
because there's no in and out once that's done.
the only road on the property was gonna, or like paved surface on the property was gonna be 7/1000ths of an acre total. And it was an access road to the center of the farm,
Okay.
the farm. And it said it would be constructed to limited use standards, so seasonal checking or.
There isn't a lot of activity in it. On the solar thing.
Yeah, there's not traffic
No,
coming in
it
and
just
out.
quietly sits there and does nothing,
Right.
at least nothing that you can see.
Right.
So not something that we necessarily want to.
Yeah, I think that might be
Yeah.
not something.
That we don't think traffic is an issue that's gonna.
I don't think it's a valid report.
Yeah, and that may not be entirely environmental either, you know,
No.
as far as the road, you know, road structure and stuff like that.
Not in our purview.
Anything else, Bill, anything that you have?
No, I don't. The only thing I was gonna say is I think one of the earlier letters, that the DEC wrote on this, because they commented too, I believe, right? And they said that there was prime farmland up there, but there was also woods but the prime, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically the prime farmland was more important than the forest. So I think that's why they shifted the solar farm, or at least they put it where they are, you know, taking down most of the trees versus putting on the farmland, pretty much because they're trying to accommodate the DEC's comments. So, you know, if we didn't want to take down the trees and worry about stormwater, it might be better to put it on the open field. But then I'm not sure the DEC would be happy. So, but anyhow, I mean, it's just more of a comment than anything, but it's kind of, they're probably between a rock and a hard place there.
Slope on that.
Varies from like 5 to 10%. There were some places that was over 15. So. Yeah, moderate to, but then those 15 minutes gets a bit steep. The-
Oh, she's pulling up.
The soil profiles were all either moderately or highly erodible soils, though. So that was, in my mind, more of a concern than the slope, was just that the soil composition was
Not great
right.
for that.
Which, to your point of what's the vegetation plan, makes
Yeah.
more valid.
Yeah.
So I guess then. Until Seaboard comes back to the town with that additional information and John's had a chance to take a look at it. You know, like I said,
Can't do anything.
we can put together a draft and be ready and get it back to her, but I'll call Renee and I'll ask her, you know. For another
We have
30
some minor
days.
concerns that are general.
They're general, yeah.
They're general, but we can't do specifics because we don't have specifics.
And that's the more pressing issue.
Yeah.
And those specifics are important because
Huge.
there are ways to have engineering solutions to this if they,
A lot of the concerns can be mitigated, but we don't know what they're doing.
exactly.
And I'm not gonna shoot in the dark.
Right.
Good idea.
A plan.
I think Kathy's got a good idea though, to like do a general outline of a draft. And then once we get the final stormwater report, then we can kind of fill in the blanks, so to speak.
Yeah, that stormwater issue is awful. If it's not handled right. We just spent today putting rocks in a gully that's trying to open up one of our fields. And like, you know,
Once it gets out of hand.
and that's off a hay field, you know, so. We, it's a wet field anyway, but nothing's wet this time of year except June.
All of it's
And there we are getting hay off the field. And some years we can't get on until August.
Mhm.
And we went around and we looked and we went, what is happening here? And the erosion in the last year has been just so hideous that
Yeah.
it spent the afternoon moving big rocks.
Monday.
Hey, you get in a big enough tractor, it kind of is.
Is there anything else that anybody would like to talk about tonight?
No, I'm good.
I'm good.
So Phil, you'll send Nancy your file.
Yeah, I just
Your
did
magic?
already. I don't know if she got it yet, but
Oh, okay,
I think she did.
got it.
Yeah.
Great. And then when you get it back, then you could recirculate. We'll give it our thumbs up and we'll get it posted and move this along.
Are
And
you telling him we're gonna thumbs up it without even looking?
I'm gonna
I'm just
recirculate it.
kidding.
Then you're gonna give me
I'm
the
just
thumbs up.
kidding.
I mean, it's based on something that's.
I'm just- I-
Pretty good,
I couldn't resist. I'm sorry. Couldn't resist.
No, you can't resist when we get the Zoom going. That's, we.
That's how fire rolls as.
Okay, so we're looking good. We're gonna have the contest up and rolling. We'll get 30 more days for the comments
Yeah.
and or as long as it takes, but we'll go with 30. Can I do anything to help you with the submitting your stuff? Or are you good with that with Renee for the cost for the trees?
I'll just come doodling on in sometime this week and talk to the town clerk and get my dogs finally updated.
Yes.
And then ask for money.
You know, and we'll get this all figured out and put in place before next Thursday.
There is no
Plenty of time.
gigantic rush on this, but were you guys happy with the seedlings?
Yeah,
And
they were beautiful. They were cleaner. They were in better shape. They were
yeah,
healthy.
Saratoga has deteriorated to the point where commercial people don't even look at them.
Yeah.
It was like night and day, Pauline.
Oh, it is,
Yeah.
it is. And I was new to the committee and I bit my tongue for the first year. And then I went, all right, we're done with this.
Yeah.
As soon as we had a supply problem, we can arrange supply problems from commercial people. So I'm glad you liked them. I knew he had them. Just a phone call. He can do it again next year. He doesn't care.
Awesome.
And then the most important thing is guaranteeing delivery.
Right.
That was a rude surprise. Yes.
So Kathy, if we're gonna get another 30 days from Renee, will we need to get together then in July to finalize our comments, or what do you think?
We may, I
Do we
think
have
it's
to-
gonna see, where that drainage plan or where the SWIP is at that point, when they
Yeah.
come back to the town. There's no guarantee that they'll have that by 30 days.
Well, that's
So,
true.
Would
That's
it have
true.
been 60 days though?
So in theory, we're skipping July, but in fact, we may have to find a day in July when we can all show up.
Yeah, it might not be,
It might not, yeah.
that might
Right,
be-
yeah. Okay, yeah, I just wanted, yeah, so it's kind of a moving target as far as that date, yeah. As far as when we'll meet again.
Next meeting to be determined.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So we'll plan on August 3rd is the first Thursday in August,
Just a comment
but
period.
depending on.
Yeah, depending on needs.
Yep.
It always was depending on needs, anyway. So it's good.
Well, I think this is good. Unless there's anything else.
I'm good. That's, no, nothing from here.
All right. All right, Phil, thank you for,
Thanks, Phil. Good seeing
Yeah,
you.
thanks
Thank
for letting me
you. Bye.
join in by Zoom. It worked out good.
it's like you're in a nice place. That's good.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Is he gonna tell us where he is, or is this just a mystery?
Where are you, Phil?
Branningham Lake,
Oh, Brandon, nice. He's in witness
up near
protection.
Loudville.
That's what I was
Hey,
saying.
I can't tell you what it is.
All right. I'll turn those off. See you, Phil.
Okay, take care. Bye.
We're bad.